A few months back, America's biggest defense contractors warned that sequestration would take a big bite out of their business. That may prove to be true, but it hasn't happened yet. The 5 biggest Pentagon players all beat analyst estimates this past week as they released second quarter earnings. Lockheed Martin, the world's biggest defense contractor and the maker of the F-35, Northrop Grumman, maker of the Global Hawk drone, and Raytheon, the world's largest maker of missiles, even raised their profit outlooks for the full year despite no solution for sequestration anywhere in sight. General Dynamics benefited from Navy spending on 4 new destroyers in the quarter, and Boeing was insulated somewhat by commercial aircraft orders, but did warn of sequestration pain to come. Was this all a case of crying wolf, or is the pain of sequestration still coming down the road? I'm joined now by Bloomberg defense analyst Rob Levinson for the answer to that question. Rob, we've talked about this before, but all 5 of these guys beating analyst estimates, that's got to be somewhat of a surprise given the fact we are in the middle of sequestration.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise, Peter, but probably not as much as people might think. They're all in big procurement programs, and we know that a lot of the procurement dollars which were cut from 2013 don't even get spent in the fiscal year in which they're appropriated. So some of this pain may be still to come down the road a little further.
These are all companies that have big, high-profile, major weapons programs, and by and large, the Pentagon said, listen, we are trying to protect these programs, right?
Right. I mean, most of the cuts of the last sequester, you know, the Pentagon took about a $37 billion bite, and about $20 billion of that was out of the operations and maintenance account, which are not the big procurement dollar, big hardware kinds of programs.
What about down the road? What can we look at these from these earnings reports from these companies to see what might be happening next year, the years beyond that?
Well, down the road, if sequestration keeps up, you know, through the period all the way to 2021, where they're cutting out the procurement, eventually the pain will sort of trickle down because these effects will compound year to year. And even though these procurement dollars aren't spent each year that they're appropriated, you get the compounding effect year over year.
But you're looking at the backlog here, the orders for these companies in the future, and they still look pretty good.
Right. I looked at the top 5, you know, and their backlogs all, in fact, exceed their annual revenues by like 150%. Lockheed's got over $80 billion in backlogged orders. Most of them are up from the backlog at the end of 2011 versus 2012. So they've got a pretty healthy pipeline, and they're not going to feel the pain, I don't think, you know, even in the next year. It may be 2 or 3 years before they really start to feel some pain.
And Rob, these are the big 5. The big 5 primes here. What about the smaller players, the medium-sized players? Is that where the sequestration pain is being felt?
Well, I think further down the list, and particularly those that are providing services which are more paid for out of the O&M accounts, they're probably feeling some more pain. But I looked at some other big companies like Mantech or SAIC, and again, their backlogs still are looking pretty healthy compared to previous years.
All right, Rob Levinson following the sequestration story for us here at Bloomberg Government. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.